I was in a tough spot. I was picking between all my friends, and I think I wish I would have gone about it differently. I wish that I would have probably just had a conversation with Fest and been like, listen, this is finally my ticket in.
Josh, we got a lot to talk about. This was drama central here, and I loved it. It was all about this vote here. So I wanted to know, getting started off, why was it such a hard decision for you to choose between Corey and Bananas? I know that he's your friend, but he's won 7 times. So why was that decision very hard for you?
Yeah. I think that to be honest with you, when I was making the decision, it didn't even feel like I was choosing between Johnny and Corey. It felt like I was choosing between Johnny and Bananas, Bananas and Fessy. That's what it felt like. I felt like no matter what, I was going to piss off a friend. I was going to lose a friendship, and that's how heavy that felt. Right? It felt like, after this, like our relationship, our friendship's never going to be the same. So I wish I could have pulled myself out of that a little bit. It thought logically and been like, hey, listen, at the end of the day, we're going to be okay because we are now somewhat. Yeah, it just didn't feel like I was choosing Corey. Also, Corey, I had in our last season, he felt like I crossed him because I chose Logan. So it comes from prior seasons where we came into this, when we had that conversation at the start, I was like, listen, I don't want to cross you. I kind of want to do right. So I was in a tough spot. I was picking between all my friends, and I think I wish I would have gone about it differently. I wish that I would have probably just had a conversation with Fest and been like, listen, this is finally my ticket in, and I'm going to a final. And, I have faith in you. I think you could take Corey, because crossing Johnny was the worst thing. My biggest regret was crossing Johnny for the season. Biggest regret of the season was crossing him. Just the way everything went down, from the promise I made to swearing on my family to just having the friendship that we had. We had such a tight bond, really good friends. And honestly, he helped me a lot to keep my sanity in that game. Like, him and Tori really helped me a lot. And those were two that I was like this the whole time in the house. So that was really tough. But yeah, I just could only learn from it, right? Like, I would never, ever make that mistake again. Hopefully in future seasons, I could show Johnny that and prove that to him. But I know that that's going to be something that I'm going to have to deal with in future seasons. But yeah, it was really hard. And I don't expect anybody to understand because they weren't there, but that's just like my heart and who I am as a person. Like, I never want to hurt people that I care about. So it was tough.
Mm-hmm. So what actually made you finally decide to vote for Bananas in that, when you were voting for the Hopper?
I think there was a lot into play with it. I think that, him being a 7-time champ, him having the opportunity multiple times, he's won multiple times, so the logic in that made perfect sense. But then also Fessy was like, please, like, kind of just like, please don't do this. Like, please don't give me Corey, because I went to Fessy right before and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna have to do Corey. Or vote for myself. I was even considering that. That's the crazy part. I was like, I need to just. But Tori came to me. Tori walked out of the vote and said, don't vote for you. Don't vote for yourself. And at that point, I knew something was up that I was in the outs of. I knew something was going on. I was like, oh, shit. Does she know something I don't know? But it was just so hard. It was so hard. It really, truly was. I don't even have I wish I had a clear answer of, like, if I would have done this. And, like, it played out how it played out, and it sucked. But, yeah, just Fessy didn't really. I felt like, overall, my strongest friendship in there is with Fessy. I really didn't want to cross him. So that I think that and also Johnny being a 7-time champ went into my vote. But yeah, it sucks. Crossing Johnny is something that I never want to do again, because having to live with that after, and just like the regret of it all and going against my morals and my word, that's the toughest pill to swallow. So yeah.
And you mentioned something on the outs of. Did you just mean that Tori voted for you, or what exactly does that mean?
Yeah, Tori walked outside of. So we wait in the living room area for each person to go vote, right? So production calls us and we sit and wait, and each person goes in and does their vote. As she's walking back from her vote, I'm sitting there still contemplating, what do I do? Like, who am I going to vote for? It came down to that split second. Like, it literally, I walked into that room undecided still. I had no idea. So I was really torn, and I had never found myself in like a situation like that. I think the West vote was really hard, but I knew I was gonna do West. There was no wavering. Like I knew that was a really good game move. That one was really tough. But when Tori told me, "Hey, don't vote for yourself," like so adamant and like strongly about it, I was like, okay, she. At that point, I was like, all right, she's probably in on. I didn't think she voted for me, but I was like, she probably knows votes that are coming from the other girls. So I was gonna burn on myself, if you want to say. I was gonna throw one vote on myself, thinking I wasn't gonna get votes.
Okay.
To cross anyone, right? But when she told me that, I was like, oh, she knows something I don't, and so I went the Johnny route. But because I had told her prior, I was like, I think I'm good. I think that I could just throw one vote on myself, and I don't have to cross anybody. And she's like, you'd be an idiot. She probably would have been an idiot, but that's how bad I didn't want to vote for one of these guys. That's how bad I really, truly didn't want to cross one of my friends. So, yeah.
And I feel like you were so focused on that decision. Did you have any time to like decompress and say like, oh, Tori voted for me, or I'm maybe going into elimination, anything like that?
No, 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 no. I didn't process none of that. Like even when she told me and we were in the room and we were having the conversation, I was so caught up in the I crossed Johnny, owning that, apologizing, going against my word, the internal struggle of going against my word, and kind of like I've played 6 seasons of reality TV. I've never really done that. Like I've blindsided people and I've made moves for the game, but to like give somebody my word and then break it, especially somebody that I care about, that was really hard. So I was struggling with that. There was no processing. I think I didn't process the whole Tory rule until like I was in my exit interview, if I'm being honest with you. Like it didn't hit me. And that
So
was
how do
really
you
tough.
feel about that?
It sucks. It sucks. I'm not gonna listen. I made the same move. I voted against Johnny, right? So I know how she's feeling, and I know that she regrets it. And we talked after, we traveled after, and was very apologetic, and I know that she regrets it, and I don't think that she'll do that down the line with me. But I think it is hard. Like I'd be lying if I sat here and was like, oh, Tori voting for me didn't fucking burn. Like even rewatching it, it's like, holy shit, she knows how bad I wanted it. I was a day away from running my first finals. So I think that really sucked, but I know that she regrets as bad as I regret the whole Johnny thing. We were just all in a really bad spot. But like also like I have to look at it like this. We all made it that far. We all made it to that point. So while it was a really tough spot, like at least we all made it to that end game, which was the goal, right? Like obviously we didn't want to turn on each other, but like, hey, I wish that's a conversation I could have had. Like, all right, we made it to this point. We played the best game that we could together. Now it's like every best person. I'm sorry, this is what I have to do for my game. But like, we did work together this far. Instead, I let the emotion of being pulled by two sides get the best of me. And I just wish that I would have been more logical with my conversations instead of like be more emotional. But that's who I am. And I guess I just could just learn from it.
Totally. And I mean, you mentioned a little bit that you and Johnny are somewhat back to where you were before, but how do things really stand with you two now? And how do you think that that's going to affect your working relationship in the future if you are in another season together?
Personally, I think game aside, right? In real life, I think we're good. I fucking love Bananas. He is such a good dude. And he's been really good to me. He's been such a good friend. So I think that's what hurts, is that I broke that trust, right? Like I know that it's just not, he could tell me, and that's how he goes about it. He's like, oh, listen, it's fine, don't worry about it. And that's kind of how he went about it. We haven't really deep unpacked that whole thing. I kind of just apologized and we moved on. And we're in a good place personally. We've hanged, we hang out, and I'm extremely happy for everything he has going on, and I have so much love for him. But I know that when we step back in that game, I know that it's gonna come my way, and I know that I'm gonna have to deal with the repercussions of the move that I made. And at that point, I just got to deal with it. I just got to be prepared, and I just got to, like it's coming my way, right? So I know it's.
I mean, he had some harsh words for you at the end of that episode. I was like surprised by that a little bit because
I wasn't. I would have said, if he would have crossed me, I would have said way worse. I'm not surprised at all. He was really hurt, and that's what people, we build a really good, strong friendship. So I was expecting way worse than that, if I'm being completely honest with you. But yeah, that's just like my biggest regret. my biggest regret. And I don't like to have regrets. I think from everything. Listen, if I didn't make that move, I wouldn't have felt this bad. Months later, I wouldn't feel this bad. Doing this interview, I wouldn't feel this bad. So I think that I can only take that. All I can do is not beat myself up about it, learn from it. And then in the future, I know he's going to take a shot at me, or not even, or just like not trust me as much. And I'm gonna, do what I can to show him that, I'm in his corner. But I know down the line in future seasons, I'm gonna have to deal with that, and I just have to be ready for it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you did come into this season super ready. I feel like you have been at the top of your game. So what would that have looked like had you run the final? I know that you were really hoping to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think
I was very impressed with how you handled the Hall Brawl too. I was like, okay, Josh, like go toe to toe with Bessie. Like you did great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think that it's funny because I always see the comments of people saying, "Oh, they're only keeping you because they could beat you," and that there could be some truth to that. Or he's never gonna make it to a final, he's never gonna win. But it's like, listen, you don't know my heart. One, you don't know my drive, and also I don't know how I'm gonna perform in a final, so I can't even counter argue that. Like I haven't been there, but what I do know is that I train my ass off in the off season. And because I love to, it's like my therapy, if I'm being honest with you. And I've put in the work physically to just like get in the best shape of my life. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. And if I get the opportunity to do future ones, I'm just going to grind, keep my head down, put in the work, and hopefully come back. And then I have the chance to prove myself. But I think that all of that, what people say, just fuels me. And it went from like hurting me, all the negativity and all the hate and all that stuff, to now I use it as like my fuel. Like, watch, I'm going to get the chance to prove you wrong. And hopefully, God willingly, I get the opportunity to come back. But I think that it's just, I'm so, like, it sounds crazy, but my journey hasn't been one that, has been ideal. Obviously, I've taken loss after loss, but I think that with each season, I've been able to reflect and grow and learn and become a better version and a better man in my real life, and just a better competitor and athlete. So I think that's all I'm going to do is just take this loss and use it as fuel for my next one. And I think if I would have made that final, I think I would have done well, but it played out how it played out, and I didn't get the shot, but we'll see how it all works out down the line. I just know that I'm not gonna walk away until I get my shot at that money and win one of these. So,
and I mean, I'm sure we'll see you back.
Until I do. Yeah.
I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, but there has been a lot of talk, and even from like people like Wes, like I'm sure you've seen like interviews where he's like really, for lack of a better word, on you and your place in the game. I wanted to give you a chance to address that and to address the people who feel like you don't have a place in the challenge world, which is pretty crazy to me because you always bring a little something to the show. So, I mean, I appreciate that.
Thank you. With the West situation, this is the thing. I'm not going to sit here and say one bad thing about West besides that he has a massive ego. That's the worst thing I'm going to say about him and everybody that knows West. Every single person that knows Wes, from production to the cast, we all know that about Wes. So that's the worst thing I'm going to say, but I'm not going to sit here and bash him. I did see the interviews. Fans, don't let it go unnoticed when somebody's saying bad and they send it to me, because I don't know if they want me to react. I don't know what it is, or they're just like, hey, just know what this person's saying. So I have seen what he has said, but the reality is his ego shot. I think that he, yet again, trusted me, which is fair. I did blindside him. I did turn on him. But the reality is I don't regret that move, and I'll do it again. I'll do it again. I will make that move again against West, because the simple fact that he's really good at the game, but also a lot of people were in on that conversation. So I know that it was highlighted on me because I was the one that made that move, but every single person was in on that. Every single person wanted to make that move, but backed out and didn't make that move. I got Johnny's blessing. Johnny was like, hey, it's not a bad thing if we do take a shot at West. But Johnny just didn't want to be the one to do it. Corey was in on it and backed out last minute. So there was so many people that wanted to make that move. And, for West to say that he doesn't know why my spot, that's his ego talking. And I know that is because he has been somebody, and this is what I'm going to say. Wes, what is hard about it is we can't walk away from it and be like, hey, it was just a game. I made this move. I looked at the West move like playing a game of chess. Like the only way that I'm gonna win this game is if I take out the strongest piece. So, you know, that's how I looked at it. Like we played a game of chess, let's shake hands. You know, I got the better man got you. Like that's I wish we could do that. But the reality is, you know, he's played for seasons, he's played for years. This is a big part of his life. So I get and a friend crossing him, but he's told me on my own, he's like, if you make it in the final, you're gonna win. He's seen how I train, the way that I run. Wes would run on the treadmill for literally 2 hours, and me and Chris were the only ones out there running with him. So I think that like while there's so much more to a final, he has been somebody as a veteran privately, not on camera, in conversations, on calls, saying, ignore all that shit. You're gonna be great if you do get in. So for him to say what he's saying, I know it's just a place of him being hurt or just mad at me and hating me right now. But what I take from Wes is all the good pointers and all the good things that he said to me privately. And I wish him all the best. And I literally, that move, I look at it like, you know, we played a lot of chess. That's where a lot of the bonding that me and Wes did was in that house, was playing chess. And I just look at it like a game move. Like, you know, I put you in checkmate. That's how I look at it.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me about your challenge journey this season and really for future-wise. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.